Hey guys, this is Stephanie and I'm Stacks on Stacks on Stacks. Today I'm coming to you with a Monday Reads. I know, I haven't done one in like a month and a half. And I was actually getting ready to film a few other videos, but I was like, you know what? I haven't done a Monday Reads. I haven't wrapped up anything that I basically read in the month of December. So I was thinking to myself, I need to do this. So I actually read 5 books in December, and then I've already read 4 books so far this month, and it's like the 13th. Now, 3 of those books were books that I kind of started in December, and I just kept setting them down and not finishing them. So it sounds a lot better than it is. But I'm going to be quick about it since there are so many books to talk about. And I do have a few books that I got in December that I'm going to show you guys today. So let's get cracking. So the first book that I read in December was Stalking Jack the Ripper. And this is by Carrie Menisalco. I gave it a 3.8 personally, a 3.5 technically. I think my problem with it was that it was a little bit predictable. Like, I did enjoy it, but I haven't been in the super mood for YA, and unfortunately YA can have a little bit of predictability to it. So I think that was the part I didn't like. I did like the part where our main character is really into like how the body works, and she's not squeamish, so they're like dissecting a body, and I have actually dissected a body, which is pretty cool, and it was a fresh body cadaver, so no yellow, he wasn't embalmed, he was like frozen and decaying on the table. It was gross, but it was so cool, and her facts were pretty accurate. The one thing I really think she didn't hit the nail on the head with, and that's because it's gross, is it smells. Dead bodies smell, especially fresh ones, and they didn't embalm back then. So stinky body, they didn't talk enough about that. Like, they didn't really drive home the part where it's like, no, really, this smells really bad. You're gonna vomit on yourself. But she tried to go there, so that was a noble attempt. I think this is a series I would continue. I'm not in a hurry to continue it, but I think I would continue it. The next one I did is I finished Ink and Bone. Ink and Bone by Rachel Kane. This was my book club pick for November, and we actually didn't do a book club pick for December because we were all busy. And I did like this book. It is the first in a series, which I think I knew in the back of my head it was the first in a series, but it's the first in a series of like 6 books, only 4 of which are out. And because it's the first book, I felt like they did a lot of world building. I felt like my characters were a little like shallow and beginnery, and I was like, gosh, there really wasn't much to them. They had, you know, the depth of like a paper doll, and I wasn't crazy about them, but knowing that it's a first in a longer series, I probably will continue it eventually. Other girls in the book club will continue it. So if they're like, oh, it's so good, I'll probably continue it too. But it just was a lot of setup, and usually with a lot of setup, I need a little bit more of a payoff. I didn't hate it. I gave it a 3.8 personally and a 3.5 technically. Like, it was good, it's just I wanted a little bit more. I also finished Chocoholic by Carrie Fisher. I listened to it, so it was read by her as well, which I think I was in the middle of the last time I did my Monday Reads. And this one I didn't like as much as the one before. She talked about like her relationship with her father and why it's just so damaged. And I mean, I know everybody has baggage, but it's not always what I want to hear about. So maybe that makes me shallow. I don't know. I just wasn't as crazy about it. I gave it a 3.0 personally and a 2.5 technically. The next book I finished was Batman Nightwalker by Marie Lu. And this one surprised me a bit because the last book I read by her was Warcross, and I super didn't like it. And I'm not a big fan of Batman, but I did like this. I did enjoy the journey of watching Batman become who he is. I knew it was going to have a YA spin on it. I knew it was going to be like, oh, there's the girl and there's love, but love is forbidden. And that's what it was. But it actually was good, and I liked the writing, and I liked the book, and it surprised me a little because I think I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, but I did, so hooray. I gave it a 4.0 personally and 4.2 technically because this writing was definitely a step up from Warcross. And then I just dove into Catwoman Soulless by Sarah J. Maas, and I was nervous about this one too. This was my first Sarah J. Maas, and people either seem to love her or hate her, and there's not a lot of in between. And I would say I mostly enjoyed her writing. There were some aspects to it that I was like, yeah, that's kind of YA, but this is YA. But I also absolutely love Catwoman. I like the story. I like Selena Kyle. I like all of it. Now, this doesn't follow the comic book, so if you're expecting about the comic book or the history of actual Catwoman from this comics, this is different. This is definitely her spin on it. But I felt like she stood her ground and she made up her own world, and I felt like it was good. And I don't think that they're going to be doing any sequels in these. There's a Superman that comes out this month, actually. And I will probably read that one by an author I hadn't heard of, but I've heard good things about the author. So I will read that one. But I would read a sequel to this because I did enjoy it. I gave it a 4.0 personally and a 3.5 technically. Okay, maybe I didn't like her writing as much as I thought I did. It was tropey, but I always like the Catwoman stories. So I was down for this. I'm going to try and read some other Sarah J. Maas at some point during 2019. I'm a little nervous because I have just been warned by so many people that you're not going to like it, that I feel like I may not like it. And I want to. Is that weird? Whatever. And then I started off my new year by reading Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer. This one is the sequel to Renegades, which I think I read around the turn of the year last year as well. And I definitely enjoyed this book. I don't know if it's a 3-book or 4-book series, but I'm going to have to say this book really did not have middle book syndrome, which most books in the middle kind of tend to. It was a very well done sequel. I give it a 4.0 personally and a 4.1 technically. There were definitely some slow bits in it, but I did feel like it was a pretty good setup for a last book, but it was still more than just a setup for the last book. I can't talk too much about this because it is the second book in a series, but I haven't been really giving much plot information on the other books I'm talking about, so why start now? So basically in Renegades, which is the first book, we live in a world with superheroes, and superheroes kind of run everything, and we're kind of brought in with the perspective of, but should they be running everything? Is it better just because they have powers that we don't have? So you have your pro person and you have your con person, and it is kind of for you to decide who is right, and I like that in this writing. I do. The next book I read was The Towering Sky, which is the third and final book in the 1000th Floor series by Catherine McGee. I gave this personally 5 stars and technically 4.8. I loved it as a conclusion to a book. I really did. This isn't a book series I feel like is talked about a whole lot on BookTube. I think the first one was for a short while and then people just kind of forgot it. And I'm not sure why. It was originally described as Gossip Girl, like with a sci-fi twist, kind of futuristic. I've never watched Gossip Girl, but if it were this good, I would think about watching it. I really liked it. We are dealing with people who are super rich and people who really aren't and have like nothing, and their interactions with each other. And that sounds kind of boring to me. I wouldn't read the book based on that. But what she does with this and her writing is very, very solid. And she has a solid plot, and she has really good, well fleshed out characters, and how you can have so many and change perspective so many times yet still pull me along. It's very, very good. And then of course there's the mystery aspect of the whodunit type of thing, and she does a good job with that too. It wasn't overly predictable. I didn't really guess who did it till like 2 pages before we found out who did it, which is good. So I liked it. If you like a good mystery, check out this series. First one is The 1000th Floor. The second one is Dazzling Heights. And the third is The Towering Sky. The next book I finished was Puddin' by Julie Murphy. Now, I actually wasn't really planning on reading this, but then I watched Dumplin' on Netflix and it was too cute for words. I read Dumplin' probably 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. So there were things about Dumplin' that I really liked, and then there were some things I didn't like. There was all of the whole, oh my goodness, he thinks I'm cute thing. And that was a little YA-ish for me. But I felt like the movie actually took most of those scenes out, and it didn't focus as much around Willow Dean and Beau's relationship. Like, it didn't do it a ton of the book, but it did for a chunk of it. And they basically just took that out completely, and they focused on her friendships and her relationship with her mom. And I was like, this was great. Because I remember by the end of Dumplin', I liked it, but I kind of lost interest a little because I was like, more making out with Beau. How many different ways can you make out with the dude? Come on! But it was still really good. And it kind of prompted me to read Puddin'. So I went ahead and got that from the library and I listened to it on audiobook. The only thing I think I didn't like about the audiobook is first book was read by somebody who kind of did the whole book with a bit of a twang to it. And I liked that. And this one, they had like no Southern or twangy Texan accents. And I was kind of like, I kind of like the Texas accent. So in my head, there was a Texan accent. But the audiobook didn't have that. And it is from a dual perspective as well. In this one, we are following Millie, who is a fellow fat girl of Willow Dean's from the first book. And I'm not going to spoil things about the first book, because if you haven't read it, you should, because it's cute. And then a character named Callie, who's also in the first book. Now, Millie and Callie don't really have much interaction in the first book. So this book is more about their interactions with each other and how their paths cross. I don't want to give you too much information because I feel like I'd be spoiling things from the first book if I did that. But if you like cute contemporaries, it is a pretty cute contemporary. I gave it a 3.8 personally and a 4.0 technically. I did feel like it had like a little bit of an agenda to it, like just, you know, equal rights and representation. And I am fine with representation in a book and people being different than how I am, and I think it's great. But sometimes it's pushed. And that's the part I was like, yeah, but you're pushing it. When it's there, I can appreciate it. And when it's there, it's like, yes, it's there. And that's great. But when it's like, and I'm going to shove this down your throat, I'm kind of like, no, thank you. So that was the one thing I really didn't like about it. But honestly, for contemporary, I did enjoy it. And the last one I finished so far this month is The Princess Diarist by Carrie Fisher, which she read. And the weird thing is, I believe this book came out like it was all ready to be released, and she died like a week before it came out, which is really sad. And then she says things in this book, whenever I die, I hope this and this and this happens. And I was like, that's so sad. And it was kind of sad. In this book, she talked more about stories while she was filming Star Wars and things like that. This book I felt a little more interested in because I always liked those stories of what was happening behind the scenes and stuff like that. But it was a little bit sad how she was like a 19-year-old kid and got corrupted and introduced to drugs and things like that. And she had quite the sense of humor about it. But in my head, I'm thinking, that's actually kind of sad, but okay. I did give it a 3.0 personally and a 3.0 technically. Now I'm going to go ahead and talk about a couple of books that I'm currently reading. I went ahead and started another Agatha Christie because I love me some Agatha Christie. I'm reading The Secrets of Chimneys, and this one, the Chimneys they're talking, it was actually a town named Chimneys, which I didn't know. I thought maybe it was like Ode to Mary Poppins. I had no idea. And it is about people who are blackmailing each other and kind of the blackmailing's going awry, and it's pretty good. I'm like a third of the way into it or so. I'm looking forward to finishing this one up probably this week, maybe next week, I don't know. And then I'll probably pick up another Agatha Christie because I've been in the mood. I'm also a little over halfway through Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. I'm, like I said, a little over halfway through this and I am enjoying it. I mean, it's a book that takes place during World War II and it's a bunch of people who are on a boat and the boat sinks. Like, it's depressing and sad, but it's good writing and it's eye-opening and it's crushing, and I'm probably going to finish it sometime soon. I had to put it down though, just for a little bit. I also went ahead and started Soulless by Gail Carriger, and this one is for a book club that I am in, and I'm hesitant to read it too quickly because I'm only like 2 chapters and I've only just started it because we're not meeting to talk about it for another like 5 weeks. And one of the girls already finished it and she told me that she just wants to pick up the next one right away. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do that because then I might not be able to differentiate where I left off on one book and started with the next, you know what I mean? And then I'm going to spoil the book for everybody book club. So I might put this one off a little longer, but I have started it. And the one I haven't started, but I need to start, would be Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I will read this one next week because we are meeting with my book club next weekend and we have to talk about it. So I will be reading this one this week. I am excited to read this one. I don't know completely what it's about. I know that there's 2 guys that basically want to invent like superpowers in people, and they do, and they both become villains, I think. And then they don't like each other, and usually you like one villain more than the other. Something along those lines. I'm not sure, but I will be picking it up very soon. I also want to pick up Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson. I want to get this one read by the end of the month. I'm not sure when I'm going to start it, but I'm probably going to start it sometime soon. I've been wanting to get into the Wax and Wayne trilogy, and I've been wanting to read some more Sanderson. I got a Sanderson book in a book box and it just made me be like, ooh, I need to read more. So I put this on my pile to read. So this book takes place in the Mistborn universe like 300 years later. So same universe, different cast of characters. That's all I need to know. And then lastly, I have a few graphic novels. I'm trying to read 3 every month. So I went ahead and I got one from the library, Paper Girls Volume 5, I believe. It doesn't say. I think it's Volume 5. And I've been waiting for this one most of last year to come out. So it came out like a month ago and I finally got it. Yay. So I will be reading this before the end of the month. I'm also going to pick up Murder on the Orient Express, which is a graphic novel version by Agatha Christie. And I don't know what the 3rd graphic novel I'm going to read is going to be. So I need to decide that. But I'll talk about it when it's read. And the last thing I'm going to show you guys is I got a book outlet box. It's not a very big one this time. And this was my order from the Boxing Day sale that they had. So A, I've completely forgotten what I ordered because that was almost 3 weeks ago. And B, technically those books were on last year's. so I can't, you know, those don't count. And I also have a few books that are yet to come this year. I ordered them off of the Amazon Marketplace, and they're just a few Agatha Christie, so I'll haul them when I get them. And I bought them with gift card money that I got from Amazon for Christmas, so I'm also putting those on last year's book count because technically I did order them in December. They just haven't arrived yet, so there's that. And I also went to my local used bookstore and traded in some books. I got Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. I got another copy of Diviners. This one's just a hard copy one. That's kind of pretty. It is missing its dust jacket, but I think it's pretty without, so I'm okay with that. And a really cool copy of Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I'm gonna hold it up here, and it has pictures, and I am a sucker for pictures in a book. See if I can find any. Here we go. Like these. And it's a good story anyway. It's a story I haven't read in a long time. I'd totally be up for rereading it. Before I show you my book outlet books, I'm going to show you what Mark got me for Christmas. The big gift, the one I was excited for. He got me the fancy classics that they have on Book Outlet. They have 20 of these beautiful classics, and it's this soft leather. So I'm going to go through these quickly, but there's 20 of them, and they're gorgeous, and I'm so excited to have them, and I'm going to have to redo some of my bookshelves now that I have 20 more classics to put up there. I got Robinson Crusoe by Danielle Defoe, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and I might not have liked this book, but boy, this is beautiful. Moby Dick by Herman Melville, Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, Sense and Sensibility by Jane Eyre, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, Dracula by Bram Stoker, Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, Last of the Mohicans by James Fenimore Cooper, Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, Part 1 of Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, Hall of the Wild by Jack London, and last but not least, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. And these have like these foily covers that are shiny, reflective. These are gorgeous, and this is one of the biggest gifts I wanted, but I was like, well, I'm not gonna get it. And Mark got it for me because he loves me, and they're just beautiful. They're beautiful. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I did anything good to deserve getting these books either. So now I'm gonna show you my book outlet box very, very quickly. I got Julia Defiant by Catherine Egan, which is the sequel to Julia Vanishes, which is a book that I started that I need to finish. I got Little Gray Cells, The Quotable Perot. These are quotes by Hercule Poirot, Agatha Christie, and it's just a cute little quoting book of additions to my collection. I got The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things by Carolyn McKellar. I don't really know what this is about. I don't actually know what this is about, but it sounds funny, so I think I might like it. I got A Poison, Dark, and Drowning by Jessica Cluess, which is the sequel to Shadow, Bright, and Burning, which I need to read, but now I have two to read. Almost Sisters by Jocelyn Jackson. I don't remember what this is from, but somebody was talking about it on BookTube, and it sounded pretty great, so I saw it on sale and I bought it. Story of my life. I got 12 Days of Dash and Lily by Rachel Cohen and David Levithan. I haven't read the first one. I need to do that, but it does look pretty cute. The Chaos of Standing Still by Jessica Brody. This is one I want to say Hannah over at Clockwork Reader was raving about, so I thought I'd give it a chance. And The Forgotten Book by, I'm not going to say this name right. It's definitely not American. Mechthild Glacier. This one was by the same guy who did Book Jumper, and I only read like half of Book Jumper, but I did like it, so I'm thinking I like this one. I don't think it's a sequel. I think it's just a book by the same guy. I don't know. And then I got some Karen White's because I think I would like Karen White. First one I got was Flight Patterns. She writes beautiful books, and she has great covers too, and we all know I'm a sucker for a good cover. The Forgotten Room, The Girl on Laguerre Street. And then the first one I was looking at was The Night the Lights Went Out. And this is one that I heard about on a few channels last year and kind of turned me on to Karen White in general, and I do think I will be enjoying this one. And that is it. I know this was probably one of the longest Monday reads, but I haven't done one in 6 weeks, and that is why. You have my wrap up, you have what I'm reading, you have all the books that I've gotten that are on last year's, so they don't count for this year, just so you know. Please feel free to comment down below with what you are currently reading, or maybe even the best book that you read in December. And I feel like we're currently focusing so much on wrapping up the whole year last year that we kind of forgot about December, and we forgot about, you know, I read books in that month too. So think back to what the best book you read in December was, because I would like to know that as well. Let me know if you got any great great Christmas presents that were books. Other Christmas presents I'm interested in, but let's be honest, I'm more interested in books, but that's just me. I should have a video up later this week, so be looking for that as well. I'll be getting together the books for my best reads of 2019, my worst reads, my most disappointing, and my most surprising. So you can be expecting those videos from me very soon. Don't forget to like and don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to click that little bell icon down there so that you will know every time I have a new video up. And I'm looking forward to talking to you guys in the comments. Goodbye.